How's everyone doing? Thank you for being here. I know it's early in the day. I nearly went to the wrong stage. So that's not a good start. But I'm really excited. Hopefully, who here has seen the channel Words of Rizdom or Chart Fanatics? Okay, if you haven't seen it, you need to leave. No, I'm joking. But Words of Rizdom, Chart Fanatics, we interview the best of the best traders in the world, from market wizards to true professionals, whether they're prop firm traders, traditional prop firm traders, hedge fund traders. We interview all of them. And then we have Chart Fanatics, where we actually dive into strategy. So if you haven't checked it out, make sure you do, because it's all free. It's all on YouTube. There's no better way to learn than directly with verified traders. So we actually verified their P&L and their performance as traders for a minimum of 2 years. But as I said, we have a lot of market wizards, so they've had a 10-year plus track record as a trader. So my plan today is to really just take all the key lessons, or three mainly key lessons, from the hundreds of interviews that we've done with some of the world's best traders. So maybe I should have moved slide first, but these are the two channels, and as you can see, like, we've had Jack Schwager, the author of Market Wizards, Chris Camillo, a market wizard, Linda Raschke, one of the best hedge fund managers and also a market wizard, Stephen Dux, as you can see with the accolades there. Lance Brystein is actually going to be in the new Market Wizards book, so that'll be coming up next. Gary Stevenson, some of you may know, very polarizing figure. And then the amazing Randy Howe. Just to highlight some of the episodes we have, they're all on Words of Rizdom, but many also have their strategy breakdowns on Chart Fanatics. So after interviewing all of these amazing traders, there's three key lessons that really stand out to me. When it comes to trading, there are many nuances, there are many layers, but these three principles really stand out to me in terms of what it takes to be a trader and to have a long-term career as a trader. I was talking yesterday at the mastery stage in terms of there's a big difference between having a long-term career and then just having maybe a 1 or 2 years of profitability and then maybe moving on. So there's a big difference. And what we're going to talk about today is what it takes to have a career as a trader. So meaning 10 years plus in the trading game with profitability, with consistency. So first of all, let me introduce Fabio Valentini, one of the best scalpers in the world. I've never seen anyone trade as accurate, with speed, in real time as Fabio. Now that QR code right there will give you a free PDF playbook. I think you just input your email and it will give you that for free. So feel free to scan that. Just FYI, little side note, every guest we have on Chart Fanatics, you can get a free PDF playbook on the website that will take you to. So feel free. I think there's about 30 on there. Free PDFs so that you can learn, keep them, revise them, learn from them. But the one thing that really stands out when it comes to all of these traders, because you have to imagine, when we're talking to over 100 plus traders at this point, there's going to be reoccurring themes. But each trader is unique, in the sense that they all have different styles, they all trade different instruments, they all trade differently. But there's one thing that really stands out when it comes to being the same, a reoccurring theme, if you will. And that is exactly what it says there, understanding the market mechanics. So what does that mean? So it doesn't matter whether you're a trendline trader, whether you trade supply and demand, whether you trade ICT. At the end of the day, the profitable traders, the consistent traders, they are the ones who understand what's going on behind those concepts, behind those candles, right? So understanding the buyers and sellers, because at the end of the day, regardless of your strategy, whether you're a scalper, a day trader, a swing trader, it doesn't matter. What matters is your understanding of what's going on behind those candles, the buyers and sellers, where those buyers are trapped, where those sellers are trapped, understanding the concepts of those orders flowing in and out of the market. Now you can use that in any way that you wish. Whether you're a scalper, a swing trader, whatever your strategy may be, those concepts and that principle remains the same. And the best traders, the elite traders, share that no matter their strategy. They understand what's going on behind the markets. They understand the money flows, right, and where the money is flowing. So right now, for example, if we look at the last 12 to 24 months, where's the money been flowing? Into AI, right? Into microchip stocks, into data centers. That's on the stock side. But then also you look at where the Nasdaq's going, for example, gold, silver, right? Once you have that understanding, now you start to derive edge. And that moves us on to our next slide. But just keep in mind, in terms of understanding those mechanics, we have an incredible trader at the back of the room. I won't put him on the spot, but Fabio also, as you can see here, I just wanted to use the laser pen, I'm being honest, but this is order flow trading. So using the volume profile and order flow trading to actually see the orders in the market. Now, it's not for everyone. However, it's definitely something to look into, because when it comes to understanding those mechanics, there's no better way than order flow, because it's literally showing you the orders in the market, especially those large orders that are actually moving the market. So something definitely to look into. We have some incredible episodes with Carmine Rosato and Fabio Valentini on Chart Fanatics, completely free. Carmine actually did a full masterclass for free into order flow. So there's no need to buy a course, no need to worry. You can learn it all for free and really get a great introduction over on Chart Fanatics. But as I said, talking about edge, the second principle that all of these traders share, and every profitable trader shares, without a doubt, and that's a big statement to make, every profitable trader, but that is the truth. Because the only way to be profitable is to actually have edge. So how do we break that down? Edge is understanding your numbers. It's having a positive expectancy with the strategy that you're deploying in the markets. So these are actually my stats on TradeZella, which is my go-to journaling platform that I like to use. And this is how you start to build your edge. You're collecting your data. You understand, as you can see, just from looking at this particular graph right here, what stands out to you? You can see the wins are astronomically larger than the losses. So automatically, you know that this system that I'm trading with has a high reward to risk profile. Now, that's not for everyone. Not everyone's going to follow the same strategy. But understanding your data, this allows me, when I have this understanding, this allows me to take my losses with ease. And as you can see, I might even take a string of losses, but I know and have confidence. The psychological aspect of taking losses, it doesn't go away. It still sucks taking losses. However, it is really diminished because of the fact that I know all it takes is one winner. And you can see that in this graph right here. And bear in mind, this is just graphs. This is just very basic data. TradeZella or whatever journal that you're going to use, you can go into so much more depth. You can start looking at your winning streaks, your losing streaks. You can start going into your winning, best performing days, months, weeks, right? And these are the details that the best traders will go into. This is how you develop an edge. That's the only way to develop an edge. So that's where, when you have an edge, your confidence starts to increase. Your confidence starts to increase. And again, I'm not saying that, psychology-wise, it's going to completely disappear because you have edge, because you have the data, because you've increased your confidence. However, it definitely helps. And more importantly, having edge really removes the excuses that we normally have, because a lot of people, unfortunately, they don't journal. Let's just do a test in the room, on the stage. Who here journals their trades? Okay, thankfully I see a lot of honesty in the room, but if you don't journal your trades, how many of the people who didn't raise their hand, how many people are profitable without journaling? Okay, but as you can see, right there is a direct reflection of what you can do straight away in order to improve as a trader. If you're not profitable and you're not journaling, they go hand in hand. Now, as I was saying though, when we don't journal and we take losses, and we have a negative experience in the markets, it's so easy to blame psychology. It's so easy to blame anything else outside of ourselves, when in reality, having an edge, knowing like this is a really great profit factor, but also this is a great stat right here, right? Average win to loss. Like I lose half of my trades. And that will change. Like that is off a lot of data, to be fair, over a year's worth of data. So that might change like slightly to 40 or 45%. Sometimes it might go higher to like 60%. But on average, I will lose half my trades. So out of, let's say, 10 trades, on average, I'll lose 5. But by having that risk to reward profile, it doesn't matter because the wins take care of the losses. Now, if I didn't have this data, when I take 5 losses, or maybe, again, that's on average. Sometimes you might take 6. Sometimes you might take 7. You might even go to an extreme. But when in that scenario in real time, if I don't understand this data, how easy is it for me to go on tilt? How easy is it for me to start blaming the markets? How easy is it for me to blame psychology and a lack of experience or whatever it may be? It's so easy, right? It's very hard for us to look at it in a mirror and say, okay, I'm not doing the work. I haven't taken the steps necessary. So as I was mentioning here, this solves a lot of the psychological issues many claim to face. So I'm not saying psychology is bullshit in trading, because it's not, right? It's a real thing. However, if you haven't got the data, then normally the psychological problems you're claiming are bullshit because you actually don't have data to go off. And a lot of the time, you're probably blaming psychology when in reality, it's just a simple case that it's part of your edge. It's part of your system. That's the reality of trading. Which takes us on to, funny enough, psychology. So I had the pleasure of speaking to some incredible trading psychologists, from Stephen Goldstein, ex-institutional trader and now renowned trading performance coach, Jared Tendler, the world-famous author of The Mental Game of Trading. We've had Dr. Brett Steenberger, who works with some of the best traditional prop firms. That's actually at S&B Capital in New York. They make 7- and 8-figure traders consistently, and he works directly with these traders. And then one of our favorites, Randy Howell, who is a world-renowned author and trading psychologist as well. Now, one thing stands out. That same principle I was just talking about, I asked these very trading performance and psychologists, that same principle. Is it easy to have excuses when you don't have data? And they said yes, but don't get me wrong, they also agreed that psychology is a real problem. And what it really comes down to when you look at all of those people I've spoken to is staying present. By being present when you're trading, it's a very difficult thing to do, because even in day-to-day life, we aren't very present. You know, even in this very moment, there'll be people who are on their phone. I caught you out, yeah, but there'll be people who are on their phone rather than listening to this presentation. And that's absolutely fine. I don't mind, because it's your loss, right? And that's the reality of trading. Most people, they will, let's say, buy a course or watch a YouTube video. That YouTube video might be 3 hours long, let's say. And they'll watch it in one sitting. But how much did they actually watch? How present were they? In reality, they probably watched 10 to 15 minutes and then were on their phone, doing something else, got distracted. And that is the difference. The people who are really making progress, and to be consistent and profitable, what it really takes is to be present in the moment. And that is, when it comes to one of the most famous trading books, Trading in the Zone. That's what they're talking about. You need to trade in the zone. So when it comes to trading in the zone, you're talking about being present, being really mindful of how your emotions are surfacing during trading. So whether it's when it comes to the market open, whether it comes to actually executing a trade, whether it comes to actually being in that trade and managing that trade, how are your emotions? How are you actually feeling in that moment? When you're facing drawdowns, when you're facing losses. And that's where it almost comes into the journaling as well, because our job is to try and document, and it's hard to do if you're not present. Because what happens is you take the loss, you maybe go on with the rest of your day, maybe even a few days. What's the reality of you remembering the state of mind you were in, how you felt, all the details of that trade, even at the end of that day, maybe, especially a few days later, a week later. Because we trick ourselves into thinking that we will remember everything, right? I don't need to journal because I can remember that trade. It hurt enough for me to remember. But the reality being that we're human. We can only retain so much information. And in order to be present, we need to start, one, being very mindful of being present. We make the intention to be present. We create a routine around our trading. A lot of people, and we can do a test in the room again, but a lot of people, unfortunately, they turn up to trade and they're trading instantly. They don't even have time before the market opens, or they don't even have set times that they're trading, which isn't maybe for everyone. For a lot of people, that's going to be beneficial. Trading maybe the London Open, the New York Open. For some people, it might even be Asia session. But having rules, criteria, creating a routine around that will facilitate your self-awareness and your presence when trading. It's the only way. Now, all of this I've mentioned It's not sexy. It's not exciting. It's not fun. But that's the difference. I know trading may come across as this really exciting, elevate your lifestyle, create financial freedom thing, and it can do that. But it requires work. And I think there's a big misconception in this industry. I'm going to ask a question here. What are people's thoughts? What are people's thoughts when it comes to being a full-time trader? Do you think once you have a strategy and once you're profitable, trading becomes easier and that you won't have to really put too much work in consistently to move forward? What are people's thoughts? Do they think that? Do you think that once you're profitable, everything becomes a lot easier? What do you think? No? A couple? Okay. That's good. That's a good expectation. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But trading requires work. Anything in life that is worth having requires sacrifice, and that's why most people never achieve it. Just like the stats in trading. The stats in trading is that the majority of people don't make it, unfortunately. But the beauty of trading is there's no limitation on who can make it, right? There's no criteria of how old you may be or where you're from or what sort of credentials you have or what sort of background you have. That's the beauty of trading. There's no limitation. But success requires extreme hard work consistently. Consistently profitable. That's everyone's goal, hopefully. But what does that mean? If we break down that word, to be consistent means essentially that you're going to do something over and over and over. So to be consistently profitable, a lot of people, and I was included in this when I was early in my trading career, you fall into the trap of thinking consistent profitability is a destination. One day you will arrive at consistency. One day you will arrive at profitability. But the reality is it's in the word. You will always have to stay consistent in your actions. You will always have to be disciplined. You will always have to do the work necessary. Because to that question I asked earlier slightly in terms of will you have to do work, will you have to make changes? The reality is, you might have a profitable system that you finally get to. You might have been trading for a year, 2 years, and you finally get to a point where you have a profitable system. And then what happens? The market conditions change. What does that mean? That means that you're going to have to do the work to understand what changes you have to make to your strategy, to your trading. Now, it could mean that your entire strategy doesn't work anymore. That's the truth. That's a reality you need to understand and be willing to accept that you're going to have to adapt. You're going to have to make changes. Even if you've been trading for 5 years profitably, even if you became a 7 or 8 figure trader, that does not change. And bear in mind, this isn't just me talking from my own experience. This is me talking to some of the greatest traders in the world. People who have been trading for 40 years, 30 years, 20 years. People who have traded from $5,000 up to $50 million. These are the type of traders who share this sentiment and have had to go through this themselves. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's going to be a struggle. Just because I've said this to you, it doesn't mean you're going to understand it. And it doesn't mean that it's going to make it easier. Everyone has to experience this. You have to go through it. What's the saying? It's trial by fire. You will have to feel the pain and the struggle, but it's those who are willing to go through it and still put in that work and stay consistent who are going to make it. And that's where that presence comes in. Being present in those moments and understanding how you're reacting to these moments, to these losses, to these adversities. Again, most people don't do that in life, let alone in trading when money's on the line. And that's where a large part of the psychological issues come in. It's because it's involving money. And a lot of the time, unfortunately, but it's not normally anyone's fault, because that's why they get into trading, is they may be risking money they can't afford to lose. Or they don't have the financial cushion to be able to try and ease that psychological burden when handling and trading money. And as a bonus, if you will, trading is hard. Trading will always be hard. It may get simpler based on your experience. It may get simpler based on your profitability and the financial freedom that you do start to create. But every single guest I've ever spoken to has always said that trading is hard. Trading will never be easy. It doesn't get easier, it gets simpler. And most of all, you get stronger, you get better, and you become someone who can handle a lot more. But trading itself will always require work. You cannot avoid it. There's nothing you can do to avoid it. So even if you get to a point where maybe you start to you automate your strategy, you make it into an EA, you make it into a algorithm that trades for you. I'm sure everyone thinks, okay, well that must be easier. You don't have to trade yourself. It does it for you. But again, trading is hard. Doesn't matter what's trading. Doesn't matter whether it's you, whether it's an algorithm, because to run an algorithm efficiently and profitably, you still have to have manual intervention and management, which requires work. You have to know when to switch off an algorithm. You have to know when to pivot from one algorithm to the next. And again, that's work. Trading is hard. And that will never change. And I'm not saying that to put you off from trading. I'm saying that to give you a realistic expectation of what it will take and what it's going to take and what it will always take to be consistently profitable. So to round things up and to finish off, I've given you the advice and the principles from these traders. Now, for those who haven't seen, as I said, we give everything for free on Chart Fanatics when it comes to actual profitable trading strategies and concepts. It's entirely free. Everything we do in our ecosystem is entirely free because we believe that trading education should be available for everyone and that you shouldn't have to have some crazy barrier to entry paying thousands of dollars for information that should be readily available for you. So Chart Fanatics, as you can see, like Pradeep Bondi, for example, whose episodes went out recently, he's the inventor of a strategy called episodic pivots that has made the most millionaire traders in the world. Trader Kane, who once had the largest payout in prop firm history. Carmine Rosato, a phenomenal futures order flow trader, a 7-figure trader at that, who's actually at the back of the room. I'll put him on the spot now, but he's here with us today. Trader Main, a phenomenal crypto trader, and I could go through each one, but what I'm getting at is, guys, if you want to learn to trade, if you want to develop your skills, you want to learn from the best traders in the world, you can, for free. You don't need to worry, you don't need to go stress about where can I find this information, how much do I have to pay to learn to trade. You don't need to anymore, and that's what we do. This is Chart Fanatics. On Words of Rizdom, we go through the processes, the psychology, the highs, the lows, how to handle drawdown, how to handle the wins, the best strategies to use. Well, strategies is here, but the highs and lows of the journey, essentially, with the same guests, all verified in terms of their performance. Which leads me on to something. I'm going to announce something today. So be wary. Keep this to yourselves, maybe. I know it's probably not the best format to do so, right? But we're launching something in roughly 6 to 8 weeks' time that is going to completely change the trading industry. As I said, our vision is to make trading education available to absolutely everyone in the world. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to bring you absolutely full masterclasses A to Z. So if you have never traded before, you'll be able to learn how to trade as a beginner. And if you're an advanced profitable trader already, you'll still have information that you can learn from some of the greatest traders in the world through Chart Academy. Chart Academy is going to be the first platform all-in-one covering Forex, futures, stock, options, and crypto entirely for free with verified traders, meaning that their performance has been completely verified by us and our team for a minimum of 2 years of profitability. And we will be hosting, as you can see, you can join the waitlist here. Again, completely free, no catch. A lot of people, when we explain this to them, they get confused. They get confused. They can't handle it. They can't understand it. They wonder, why is this free? We have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars putting all of this together. A bespoke platform, independent platform, that, as you can see, looks absolutely amazing. If I do say so myself, I may be a little bit biased, but everything will be covered, A to Z, full masterclasses for free. So if you want to scan that QR code, this has not been publicly announced anywhere else, so I guess this is a form of an exclusive announcement, but I'm excited to bring this to the industry and really shake things up when it comes to trading education. And we have so much more planned for Chart Academy. I'm super, super excited. But again, if you want to get ahead of everyone else, join the waitlist right there, and we'll be launching in the next 6 to 8 weeks. And we have some incredible partnerships with prop firms and journaling softwares that can all be part of this ecosystem through being part of this educational platform. But that finishes me up. I'm maybe slightly early, but I know there's no microphone in the audience, but I don't know if anyone has any questions or anything. I'm more than happy to answer. I think I've got 5 minutes left here on the timer. Does anyone have a question that comes to mind whatsoever? They have a microphone? Okay, cool. Does anyone actually have a question? Because I don't want to embarrass myself and get them to get a microphone and then no one actually wants... Yeah, okay, someone's got one. That's great. That's great.
Hi. After doing so many interviews, who is your favorite trader? And what is your go-to strategy?
So that's a question that I get all the time. And it's always so hard to answer because, one, I try not to pick favorites because then I don't want to, offend any of my other guests. But there's a few that stand out. I'll give you a few, and I'm sorry it's not a single answer. Fabio, number one right here, who you can see on screen, phenomenal trader. We did an episode on Chart Fanatics with him. He traded live on that episode, and it's done 2.5 million views in like the last 4 months. And it's really opened many people's eyes in terms of the level and skill set you can develop as a trader. And even for me, it blew me away. I had never seen anything like it in terms of the accuracy in real time right in front of me. So that blew me away. Which leads me actually to Carmine Rizzato, again, who's at the back of the room. He was actually one of the first traders that I had interviewed along my journey. It was quite early on in the podcast, who again opened my eyes into like how professional you can be at the deeper levels that you can think about when it comes to trading. Because at that point, I'd really interviewed a lot of more sort of retail traders, and then when I got to Carmine, again, it was really eye-opening into the professionalism, even as a retail independent trader, that you can do if you're willing to do the work. Which, funny enough, actually, I don't know if I should announce this, but tomorrow, Fabio and Carmine will be trading live together on Chart Fanatics, and we'll be recording that tomorrow, so that should be very, very fun. Outside of that, Randy Howe is a personal favorite of mine, trading psychologist. I had seen clips like me in my own trading journey of Randy, so being able to sit down with Randy was amazing. My go-to strategy, actually, funny enough, is Marco, my close friend here. I watched Marco during COVID trade every day trying to develop his strategy when it comes to like liquidity inducements and understanding liquidity. And that is something that I've implemented into my own trading, which allows me to get a high reward to risk ratio, which goes back to the first slide, one of the first slides in terms of market mechanics. So when you look at liquidity, you're trying to understand where are the orders in the market. Who's offside, meaning who's getting sort of built up and induced, so like being drawn into the market. And that's one of my favorite strategies, and that's something I implement myself. I have to be very careful when doing these interviews because it's so easy to try and implement everyone's strategy, right? Because everyone's profitable, and they sound like, when I'm sat there, they sound amazing, and they sound like, oh, I should try that. But the reality being, you can't do that as a trader. You have to have edge. No matter how good something sounds, you can't just, I'm going to take that and try and use that straight away. That's a mistake that a lot of traders make. But any other questions at all? We've got 90 seconds left. Otherwise, we can wrap up early. Oh, okay. Well, we got one here. Final one.
Hi, my name is Satyam Soni. My question is, how you deal with your losses?
How do I deal with my losses?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so how I deal with my losses, it kind of goes back to what I was saying in terms of having the edge, right? I'll be honest with you, there's a couple ways that help you handle losses. One is having the edge, of course, understanding the data, knowing what your edge and your strategy in terms of losses should look like, right? You will have an average peak in terms of losing streak, meaning that your edge will show you, okay, on average, this strategy will have 5 to 6 losing trades in a row. But bear in mind always that that's an average. You can always go 7 or 8. It doesn't mean the strategy is broken. Maybe once you go beyond that, you got to question something, right? The other thing is having an income outside of trading, right? That helps massively. Because a lot of people, as I mentioned, they're trading with money they can't afford to lose, and they're trading to make money. They need the money from trading, essentially. And that puts a lot of pressure on the psychology, which then if you're needing to be on process, being present, that's very hard to do. So having an income outside of trading is going to help that massively. Massive. And it doesn't have to be a drastic income, but really, in reality, you want to have that income outside of trading that covers your expenses, so you don't need the money from trading to cover your expenses. Now, that's easier said than done. That might not be something you do straight away, of course, but that's something you have to work towards if you want to have a long-term career as a trader. And the one thing I lean on, which I said yesterday, which is, what's the one thing guaranteed in trading? The only thing guaranteed in trading is losses. That's right, losses. You're not guaranteed to win. You're not guaranteed to be break even. You're only guaranteed to lose, right? Now, how much you lose and how consistent you are is all up to you, right? But it's been an absolute pleasure. I'll be at the booth doing live podcasts in between the two stages on the other side of the hall. Feel free to come up. We're doing giveaways in terms of accounts and merch. We have only a few merch bags left, I think. But I'll be over there. So if you want to catch up or you want to ask any more questions, feel free to pop over. But I appreciate all of you being here early in the day with us today and listening to this. And hopefully you'll be able to join our revolution, if you will, or our evolution of the space together. And I thank you for your time. Thank you.